we have had problems with our cucumbers the last 2 years. They will bloom like crazy but never produce cucumbers. They are being pollinated, but nothing happens. Up until then, we've had no problem growing them. Do you have any suggestions for how to get our cucumbers to set fruit? We bought a pH monitor and our pH level is 6.5. Thank you so much for any ideas. This is James from Dalton, Georgia. So Alainia, we'll come to you. So you have any thoughts? All right. A lot of cucumbers. What happens to the fruit? Doesn't set fruit. So what are you thinking?
Would it be possible maybe there was too much nitrogen? Even if they weren't applying it, perhaps maybe a runoff from yards or even a neighbor's yard, where the cucumber plants first put out the male flowers, and then they'll put out, a few weeks later, they'll start putting out the female flowers. You'll know the difference. The male flowers will come in a cluster of 2 or 3, and then your female flowers will be on a thicker stem. It's a very immature fruit, or look like a thick stem, and that's your female flower. You could pollinate them to make sure, but he says that they are being pollinated, so hopefully they have enough pollinators. That not being the issue, I was just wondering if maybe there was too much nitrogen and the male flowers are getting too many male flowers and are not getting the female flowers, is my thought.
I could go with that, yeah. Could be too much nitrogen fertilizer. Yeah, you're producing a whole lot of male flowers, right, and not that many female flowers. Okay, I can see that, or I can see poor pollination. You know, I can see that happening as well. What do you think, Mr. D?
pH is good.
pH is
wonderful.
pH is good. And I'm thinking about the nitrogen. It might be a situation if he's using slow release, a lot of slow release nitrogen, that it will last throughout the season. That could be maybe using just simply too much. Or if he's going with regular light applications of urea, ammonium nitrate, or something like that. Normally if you use a non-slow release nitrogen after 4 to 6 weeks, the levels go down quickly. It leaches out of the soil. It's the fertilizer that leaches out faster than any of the primary elements.
Right.
And but if he's got it next to his lawn, and he's got a raised bed or something next to his lawn, and he's fertilizing his lawn, and some of it's getting thrown over there, I would ask myself. I tend to think that it might be a problem with excess nitrogen. But there again,
I would think so. Yeah.
I would also try more than one cultivar. Maybe grab a couple different seed packets and try a couple different ones. And also when you're growing them yourself, you know the cultivar, you know what you're getting.
Right.
And then if it turns out that one does do better than the other, then the next year you'll know exactly which one to plant.
Right.
And which one to skip.
For sure. Yeah, but if you think about the question again, the last 2 years, so think like a gardener here for a second. What are you going to do? You're going to push the fertilizer to it. Something's wrong here. It's not blooming. It's not producing that fruit. So most people would think, let me add more fertilizer.
I'm an old county agent here. I'm an old county agent. I recommend you get your soil tested. I know I appreciate the fact you got your own pH meter and you checked your pH, but get your soil tested and let's find out if you've got, of course, and ask them to check your nitrogen levels because they don't normally do that, do they? They don't P and K and the reason they don't is because nitrogen leaches out so fast, whatever it was the day you checked it, well, when you get the results back. Back in the old days when you got the results back, you didn't, it was totally different. Now you get the results back a lot faster.
Oh,
so
a lot faster,
they will check for N if you want them to now. But, and I'd also be interested in knowing what the phosphorus levels are. Because if you have exceedingly high levels of phosphorus, they can create all kinds of problems.
Right, because we know phosphorus is important for development of fruit.
That's right. But if you, the right amount.
The right amount.
If you got too much, and if you're putting out a complete fertilizer every year, the same amount every year, the phosphorus will build up. It will build up, and looking at over the years, looking at soil test reports for 32 years, the biggest problem I saw with soil tests, with home gardeners in urban areas in Mobile, Alabama, Memphis, Tennessee, was extremely high levels of phosphorus. And it's like, don't put out the same amount of triple 13 or triple 8 or 6-12-12, you know, that you've been doing every year. Don't do that, you know. There'll be years you don't need to put out any.
Yeah.
You know, you may only need to put phosphorus out every 3 years.
I can co-sign on that for you. I've
Right,
seen
right,
some recent
right.
soil
That's-
tests.
It's more,
and the
it's more too
phosphorus
much than not
numbers
enough.
are always very high.
Very high.
Very high.
And that interferes with the uptake of other nutrients,
Yeah.
and I don't know how that affects the male and female blooms, but
Right, yeah.
But he's getting blooms.
Yeah, it's getting the
so
blooms, yeah.
That's a good sign the plant was happy enough to
Right.
produce
Do
the
that.
blooms. So
And-
yeah, I guess soil test,
yeah,
Yeah, just to make sure, right.
something else to
do,
know.
do some more investigation there.
Yeah. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have hundreds more. To subscribe, just click below.